And here we are, spawning in the bottom right. In the blue, representing Clash Esports. He's the Italian Stallion. He's REYNOR. And in the bottom left, in the red, the reigning world champion, the Foreigner Slayer for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. He's Dark. Man, before Cyril started having his way with Dark back in 2018, Dark had a 28-1? No, he had never lost to a Foreigner in a best of series. Yeah, Dark had never lost a series to a Foreigner before he lost to Cyril in 2018. So Dark has come down from his mountain just a little, but certainly an incredible player. And I do enjoy the fact that he has a competitor now, he has multiple competitors to the throne of a greatest Zerg of all time, or at least greatest active Zerg. As there's Rogue, and there is Cyril, and there is REYNOR. So Dark, his stated goal is to win the World Championship multiple times, to be the greatest Zerg that has ever played. And I do respect that, absolutely. And we want players we want players who have that as their goal. Not I want to make a round of it. No, we want players whose goal is to be the greatest of all time, absolutely. But it did feel like Dark kind of fell from that a little bit. Really a couple times in his career where he's always been a good Zerg, but there are times when he is absolutely dominant, perhaps the best player in the world. And it does feel like maybe often he needs a little bit of competition for that to happen. So, well, I'm glad he does have that competition for that title. But of course, in the context of this tournament, we are in the third round of the losers bracket. Dark has lost to Cyril to go down here, but ever since falling down to Cyril in the first round of the winner, or in the second round, I guess, of the winners bracket, Dark has 3-1'd Parting. He is 3-2'd Rogue, and now he is playing REYNOR. So that is already an insane run. Parting has incredible PVZ. And Rogue is Rogue. Rogue is incredible. I mean, GSL Season 2 champion, 2-time world champion. One of the best players in the world. And now we have REYNOR, who, well, realistically is the only Zerg in Europe. Often the only Zerg in the world that can beat Cyril. So, what a matchup we have for Dark here. Dark is really going to have to pull out all the stops if he has any hope of taking down REYNOR, because it's not just a question of skill, it's a stylistic mismatch as well. Europeans tend to play ZVC a whole lot differently than Koreans do. And when we see these styles match up, it's not that one is necessarily better than the other, but it does feel like the European style does tend to do a little bit better than the Korean style does when you have two players of similar caliber. Now, Korean ZVC tends to be a little bit more aggressive, and that really works out well in just, in removing poorer players from the game. Players that are maybe not at a Cyril level, not at a REYNOR level. However, when we do have players like Cyril, like REYNOR, like Rogue, that aggressive option is not nearly as powerful. And you do notice that when we look at these styles, or when we see Cyril and REYNOR play each other a good bit, traditionally you build a decent amount of Zerglings, you build Banelings, you pressure it somewhere around 30-odd workers, and you do that. But top tier European Zergs have just kind of stopped doing that because they know it's really not going to work. 9 times out of 10, it's your opponent has Banelings, your opponent has Zerglings, they have scouting. It doesn't really do a whole lot. So, with the Korean desire to maybe do a little bit more of that, although again that's not what we see this game. I guess I'm more talking in the general sense. In fact, Dark has been a bit greedier than REYNOR has in this game. Anyway, we talk about this in the general sense. Well, actually, as we talk about greediness and everything else, looks like REYNOR's getting ready for at least for a rather powerful time. If you can call an all-in if you want, and actually I think that's exactly what we're going to call it. As 30, he's only on 37 workers, 3 gas mining, 3 gases mining, just a little over 2.5 bases mineral income, no lair on the way, nothing like that. Dark, he is in some trouble in this game. Number one, now he did have +1 on the way. He has canceled that. I believe he has canceled. No, he does have his lair, but we do have 2 spines on the way. More and more roaches on the way. Dark has to hold. If he holds, he's going to be in a great spot, but he has to be able to do so. Now we have a bunch of banelings coming on in here as REYNOR's just looking for the bust. Now these banelings will not be able to connect, not at first. The queen's targeting a couple of them down is going to be really nice, but now, well, REYNOR, he has found some of these roaches on the right-hand side. He will be able to pick them off. Now these banelings running all in, and, well, Zerglings now, they're looking for the full surround here, but the queens will be able to find their way back into the ramp, and with the spines defending, it's going to be okay for the moment. It looks like Dark, however, will give up his 3rd base. And now with Ravagers on the way, well, Dark has to be afraid. He will, with the Ravagers coming out, with the triple Ravager morph here, well, actually, the Roach Warren may go down as well, but the spines are not nearly as scary as they was. And then we have the second set of Biles coming on down here. And yeah, REYNOR absolutely is just going to target this Roach Warren of Dark down before Roach Speed does finish up. And we should see our second Roach Warren go somewhere, but no, Dark has not decided to build that, not yet. And I'm wondering, actually, I'm really surprised we don't see Dark fighting with all of the, what are they, Broodlings? Swarmlings, there we go. Fighting with all of the Swarmlings coming out of the Roach Warren in the Evo chamber. But, well, that's not what you see here. As really nice Biles would knock off 2 Overlords, and suddenly Dark is getting heavily supply blocked. Well, not heavily supply blocked, but his supply maximum is going to be diminished significantly. But REYNOR, he decides he's done enough damage. He says, you know what, I killed a base, I killed the tech, I denied Roach Speed, I probably denied +1 if you weren't already getting it. I'm in a pretty good spot, and I would agree. I mean, oh, look at this. Dark's looking to take a proxy base. He's taking his 4th base as his 3rd. And REYNOR does not see that with this pack of Zerglings. So Dark look like he may be able to get a 3rd base up that, realistically, given the game state, he should not be able to do so. But now we do have the Spire is done, +1 Flyer is on the way, and Dark's going to start building a lot of mutas as soon as he has the supply available to do so. And that Baneling shot, my goodness. Suddenly REYNOR has lost so much agency on the map. That got, what, 40 Zerglings in the drop of a hat with 1 Baneling. That was an incredible trade for our Korean Zerg player, and that will just allow him to be that much more safer, to have so much confidence in his decision to build a bunch of mutas. And you've got to remember here, there are so many Overlords on this side of the map. So REYNOR is absolutely, well, he does have to worry about getting supply blocked, as the Overseer will find its way in, and maybe that will tell these Overlords to go home, but I mean, these are slow Overlords. They're not going to get home all that easily. I wouldn't even be surprised to see Dark just kind of split his mutas across the map and just get, there we go. Mutas just going everywhere, just finding all of the Overlords, although we'll miss this one. No, it gets it. So 3, we're gonna, that's 400 minerals, 8 workers, call them, yeah, 8 drones worth of income. A heavy supply block for REYNOR. And this is already a really nice bounty for Dark to try to find his way back into this game. Now, looks like Overlord Speed is done, so this last Overlord probably shouldn't die with all the queens. Yeah, this Overlord won't die. In fact, they will get a free muta. But now Dark, he's prepared to move on into a, well, one of the ways you can play this style, where he is +1 melee on the way, Baneling Speed on the way as well. So he's just gonna rely on the fact that he's map control to maybe get to mine more gas, and then, well, just kind of run Zerglings, run upgraded Banelings into bases, into mineral lines until he kills his opponent. Now REYNOR does have 10 Hydras on the way, and it's interesting his decision to do this. The kind of common thought in an even game when your opponent goes mutas is you just kind of go and actually, really nice micro here from Dark, getting a decent amount of damage done. You just kind of go and you get a bunch of queens, and you drop spines everywhere, and you just get drop spores everywhere, and you just have defensive roaches in your mineral lines, and you just get up to Lurker Den really fast. You kind of skip Hydras for the moment. You don't get Hydra upgrades, but it looks like REYNOR is interested in hitting some sort of timing, because of course we do have Hydra speed before Hydra range. That is a telltale sign of a Hydra timing coming on in, and maybe REYNOR has got something going here. I mean, he does have +1. +2 is about halfway done, but Muscular Augments will complete now, and REYNOR should be able to hit just kind of a maxed out Roach Hydra timing, and Dark may not be able to deal with it. Now, more and more mutas are on the way, but Dark does not have a ton of gas to pour into Banelings at the moment. Alright, so now we have REYNOR looking to move across the map. And this is the scary portion. Once REYNOR really socks himself into a position, it's going to be rather difficult for Dark to deal with. But if Dark can get like a full surround on this army, get on top of all of these Hydras pretty early on, well, that's going to be a pretty good deal. Actually, with all these roaches on the counterattack, this is going to be, yeah, this is going to force the army of REYNOR back. A really nice counterattack here from the red Zerg player. Now, he will lose all these roaches, and that's maybe not the best trade for him. Actually, wow, Dark got heinously supply blocked. Now, Zergling counterattack, Baneling counterattack coming on into this third base. 8 workers will go down. Not really the best. Only 8 workers and some more damaged. Follow-up attacks might get something, but this is not the insane damage that Dark is looking for. And now he traded away all of his roaches, so he's kind of lacking in an army at the moment as he sits here down 50 army supply compared to his opponent in this game. That is that's a spooky thought. But now we have +2 for ground attack and air attack. Air attack's almost done actually. Coming on in, and now REYNOR's getting ready for that lurker stage. Now Dark does not want him to let him get there. It is incredibly hard to play this style once your opponent has lurkers, once your opponent has lurker upgrades, once your opponent has vipers. So now we do notice Dark, he's pushing in on the right hand side, but half the army of REYNOR is here, and currently the army of REYNOR is better than the army of Dark, or half the army of REYNOR is better than the army of Dark. But now we have a bunch of Banelings running on in, and all the Banelings have to do is remove the Hydras, and suddenly the Mutas will reign supreme as Banelings now running on into the mineral lines. Now that's gonna be pretty nice. Dark, with excellent Muta control, is able to section things off. 12 more workers do go down. And this was a much better fight than what we previously saw. Now, the Spore will go down, and, yeah, Dark's just going to target these Spores down at the cost of some Mutas, sure. But that means he has dominance over this entire mineral line. He can jump on this. 26 workers have died, and this is exactly the fight that Dark has been looking for. Well, really the move that Dark has been looking for in this game. And he will now just start targeting down this lair. The lair that is, of course, starting to hide, that will allow the Hydras allow Vipers to get built, will allow for lurkers to be good, and Dark, he's going to target it down. He's going to get it before the hive is done, and this is the move that Dark has been looking for in this game, and REYNOR knows that he is moving across the map here with a bunch of roaches, but these roaches don't matter. There are just a ton of +1 Zerglings across the map, and yeah, +1 Zerglings, are they the best against +2 roaches? No, but they fight well enough, and they will buy enough time for the defensive Mutas at home to take the fight they're looking for. As you notice, Dark, he did not rally his Mutas to join the Muta flock in the main base. No. He kept them at home, he kept them as part of a different control group, just to make sure that A, he didn't lose a bunch to running over an army, but B, to make sure he had a defensive option. I really do like that from Dark, as now he is really dominant in this game, even an army supply, but his army is a lot more supply efficient than the army of REYNOR. He's mining so much more too. He can afford to throw an army away. So there we do have Flyer Carapace on the way, +2 attack is just about done. And now there are lurkers on the way. Or now lurkers are here, excuse me, but they don't have range. They're not quite as scary as they normally would be. But that does mean these attack positions are now locked down. Ooh, actually, I really would like to see Dark. Yeah, there we go. He's going to go find the infestation pit, which is going to delay. Actually, no, Hive is going to get started immediately. As soon as REYNOR realizes, wait a minute, this is a problem. And these Mutas will not be able to dive on top of this lair for the moment. But hey, now they're going to find a position on top of this third base. And a couple Spores will get targeted down. These are, of course, +2 Mutas. They kill Spores pretty fast. And there are a lot of them indeed. So now Dark says, oh, hey, your army's out of position. Let's start working away at this again. Now, he will not be able to kill it immediately like he did last time. But by forcing his opponent around, well, he's really just doing a really good job of playing the map. Oh, he actually is going to be able to... No, he's not going to jump on top of these Hydras. I say he's going to be able to jump on top of these Hydras, and he will be able to get another base. And actually, he has some detection here, so these 3 lurkers will go down. Really nice use of the Overseer, Overseer mode, whatever it's called. And now, well, nothing's defending this base. So now this army, this Hydra, this Ling Bane army with +2 is in a excellent position. I guess there's one lurker, but is in an excellent position to just kind of roll into this army and sweep it from the face of the earth. As now that is exactly what's happening here. As Dark is rolling in with just about everything. REYNOR's doing what he can to hold, but this is only one lurker, and I believe maybe it was even targeted down. So Zerglings are going to run on in, and everything will go down. 10 workers do go down, the base goes down, and GG Dark. He takes game number 1. Well played there from Dark. All right, now we have game 2 on the way here. between Dark and Raynor. Dark playing an excellent game number 1. Really, really playing the map well. But hey, it's game number 2. It's all loaded up. Let's go. And here we are, spawning in the upper left. In the blue, down 1-0, the Italian stallion from Team Clash. He's Raynor. And in the upper right, in the red corner, weighing in at some number of pounds, but certainly heavyweight Zerg, he's Dark. And no, that's not a fat joke. That is, Dark is absolutely a heavyweight of the scene. One of the greatest players to ever touch the game. And when we saw it there, that is not a style that I think of when I see Dark playing. I see him very much as a Roach boy. Very much doing things like that. He's got some really interesting Roach into Lurker styles. We should take a moment to talk about spawning pool locations in this game. That's pretty cool. So, oftentimes you'll see a spawning pool go down, and it'll be right near the base, and provide a kind of a safe spot for a queen to hide in, and take less surface area on top of in the idea of a Zergling flood. Sometimes you'll see, not on this map, it's not really possible, but you'll see a spawning pool right near a ramp, and that will allow for a wall off in case of a 12 pool drone pool. But what we see Dark doing here, and this is well, this is fully intentional. This is not just I'm putting my spawning pool wherever I want. This allows him to get a good vision of the parts of his creep that do not have that he doesn't have vision on. Should Raynor be trying to sneak a drone in for a spine or something, that's kind of exactly that's kind of why he's doing that. So pretty cool, just minor little things. Spawning pool location does matter. Spawning pool placement does matter, but of course Raynor not really doing any of that. He's just, of course, building a little bit of a wall here, so it's harder for Zerglings to run in and get a full scout off. All right. So, here we are. Third base on the way for both sides. We don't see too much ideas of aggression yet, but also you got to remember, we're only at 25 workers. Kind of that break point is at 27 odd workers for North American players. A little bit different for Europeans, Koreans. They're not quite as insane. That's not quite as aggressive, as cheesy, as yeah, insane's a good word. Quite as insane as North American Zergs tend to be. So we're most likely won't see that 27 worker Zergling flood that is much more common but much more common by North American players in that kind of semi-professional, professional scene. That being said, though, Raynor, he's got 31 workers, 10 Zerglings are on the way. It looks like he does want to get maybe a little bit aggressive, or he's just worried about Dark and just getting a safety Zerglings. The world will never, well, actually, I would say the world will never know, but we will find out in a minute or 3. Enough speed is done, and yeah, this is just a defensive / maybe slightly aggressive push, but this is not anything too crazy from our blue Zerg player here. It's just going to allow him to defend his third base pretty easily. And we notice Dark kind of has the same thing now. He skimped on Zerglings just a little compared to Raynor, but really not all that big deal. But this is interesting. Now, Raynor has a couple ways he has a couple things he can do from here. Oh, this is really cool from Raynor. So let's talk about what's happening. Raynor, he has gone for +1 Carapace instead of +1 attack of any form from his Evo chamber. Now, this could be a couple of things. This could be a Roachling attack, or this could just be a Pureling attack. There we go, Roachhorn on the way. So this will be a Roachling attack that is just going to hit a really specific timing. And oh no, Dark, he knows something's up now. So the second really cool part of this is we did see one of these Minor patches did get mined through, and Dark did path through that with his scouting link. And at this point in the game, that really does only mean one thing, because you don't really have sieges up from there that you have to really worry about. So what that means is Zerglings will kind of flood on in now, get a good scout on into the main base, see that there's a lair already done, and that maybe makes Raynor a little bit scared. This is a relatively early lair, and then we have Spire on the way. Reynor should be aware of this. Anyway, this gap in the wall means one thing only. It means that Reynor is trying to do something a little bit aggressive, and well, Dark will be able to scout out that. Did he see that? Did he see the main hatchery? He did not, so he does not know the lair situation. Anyway, more and more roaches on the way, more lings on the way. And this is Reynor does have a timing. Now you got to remember, it does take 2 baneling shots to kill. It does take 2 baneling hits to kill +1 zerglings, but of course +1 is not done yet. Really nice trade there from Reynor. He will managing to detonate a baneling for the cost of 1 zergling. Really, anything he can do to decrease the baneling count in this game is going to be really nice for him, as Dark really doesn't want to build a lot of banelings. He may have to, but he doesn't. He wants to spend as little gas as possible in this defense because he's got a Spire on the way, and he wants to be able to build actual mutas. But Dark, I mean, he's in an incredible defensive position here. We have 3 queens in the high ground. We have, what is this going to be, 7, 8 9 spines to hold this natural. So yeah, he should lose the 3rd base. But the 3rd base is not the end all be all, as banelings are now, or banelings are now going to come cycling in here, and it's not giving. Well, okay, now we'll get the Roach Warren, but it's really struggling to get through the wall. Now the Buster will now finally get on top of this Queens. The baneling nest does go down as well, so maybe, just maybe, this is Reynor's timing here. Now, of course, we notice the banelings, they're not doing a whole lot because, well, the +1 armor is there. As now roaches find their way on into the into the high ground, into the low ground. We should see some of the roaches starting to target these, target the banelings down, but there are still a metric ton of spines. That's going to make things a little bit more difficult. But now it looks like all the drones from the main base have been pulled on into the naturals. As Dark is struggling to hold. But of course, now we do have mutas on the way. Zerglings are on the way here. So eventually, theoretically, the mutas will be able to clean this up. But once again, you got to remember, these roaches, they have roaches and lings. They have +1. They do not die all that quickly to the mutaflock. So, well, I mean, it's going to be difficult. And we do see the 3rd base does go down. Much of the Zerglings are on top of that. Now, there is no wall here, so Zerglings can just kind of continue to run on into the main base. As we do see, well, we should see some more and more mutas get produced here, but there's very little gas mining. Only two guys are mining gas, and yeah, Zerglings running amok. 27 workers have died. The 3rd base of Dark has died, and this timing has just been so powerful for our blue Zerg players. He's gonna, is he gonna dive in now? He won't see the drone, but 27 workers have died. The 3rd base has died. Lair is... We don't even have a lair on the way for Reynor, though. This game might go a little bit longer, as Reynor has decided, I just need a lot of queens, and that's a fair assessment. If he just doesn't die to Dark, he kind of wins the game. So, as long as he's able to get a bunch of spores up, able to get a bunch of spines up, or a bunch of queens up, excuse me, he'll be in a really good spot. So, of course, that's why we only see the lair getting started now, after he got up to what he considers an appropriate queen count. I believe it looks like we're going to be at 7, 8 queens for the moment. Now with a bunch of Zerglings, we'll run in, and yeah, this is this is not a full wall of spines, so Zerglings will find their way on into the main base, starting to get a little bit more damage done. Now the Zerglings don't do a lot of damage, they just take a lot of damage. So they're not really going to be able to get a whole lot done yet, but they will force Dark back, they will kill 3 workers, and these are of course 3 workers that Dark could not afford to lose. As he's sitting here on 8 mutas, and we can expect to see maybe some more come on in, but Dark just desperately needs to rebuild his economy, and he really doesn't have the money to build an army and rebuild an economy. Oh, sorry, build an army and rebuild an economy. I believe I said build an economy, build economy. Anyway, you get the point of what I'm saying here is now mutas will fly in, but there are 2 spores here. There are 8 mutas. one spore per 2 mutas, or 1 spore per 4 mutas is not a good trade for the mutas in the slightest. So they're going to keep sharking around, but it's going to be rather difficult for them to find what they want to do, as now this Zergling run by, these are 1/1 Zerglings, by the way. They will shred this 3rd base. It does go down immediately. It does get canceled. And now this is a full wall. Well, actually, Reynor, you can kill the... Reynor could kill that Evo and run right on by, but not interested in that for the moment, I guess. So this is rather interesting. Dark is at 12 mutas now. He's getting into more and more. He's going up to a grand total of 17. And Reynor has decided that he is going to go for mutas of his own. And you know what? That's a really interesting decision. Because the common logic says, well, you don't want to be the second to... You don't want to be the second player in a game to get Spire. You don't want to be, for many reasons, you don't have the map control, maybe. You're behind on upgrades, and upgrades do matter a lot in meta fights so long as it's Carapace. But Dark has gone for a ground attack because Reynor. Why would Reynor go mutas in this game? So considering that, maybe it makes a little bit of sense that Reynor's going mutas, because Dark wouldn't expect his opponent to do mutas, but even then, +2 attack mutas will do better in a fight against +0 mutas, even with the fact that it's not Carapace. But Reynor does start into Carapace. 16 mutas are on the way. How many mutas do we have for Dark? We have 18 going up to 22. Reynor rather quickly is going to go up, is going to be able to match the muta count for Dark here, because you got to remember, Reynor, he's on 8 gas. Dark is on 4. So, yeah, the muta count at first is not going to be incredible, but now he's going up to 21, building 21 mutas at a time, and that is pretty much Dark's entire muta count. So everything I said about, yeah, timings, and you don't want to be the second player to mutas, that really doesn't matter if you're doubling your opponent's gas economy. You're not just not allowing them to take a third base. As once again, the circling counterattack does come in, just going to target down this third base. I don't even need him to fight anything else. Yeah, this third base will go down, and that's all that matters. Actually, will it? Yeah, okay, third base will barely survive, actually. Man, on it, and like 50 HP way before it finished, but any sort of run by does go and finish that off. As now, Reynor, this is all we're going to look at for the rest of the game. We just care about unit counts, 25 mutas to 25 mutas. But of course, the Zerglings on the ground are that much more powerful. And now Reynor, he will get the first shots on all of these mutas. Now, it is +2 muta, or it is +1 mutas versus +0, but you gotta remember, Reynor can afford to take trades. This is not something that you see all that often in Muta Wars, but Reynor, he absolutely has the gas economy to take maybe a slightly negative trade as long as he forces his opponent to not fight all that well. And there we go. He will get on top of these mutas now. And notice the Zerg, well, actually, we're not seeing that at all, but generally you put Zerglings underneath your mutas to soak glaive bounces, but that does not even matter in this game. It's 16 mutas to 8. Reynor taking by far the better trade, and he is just doing a really good job of resupplying. All the mutas will go down here from Dark, and there we have it. GG, Reynor. He's going to tie up the series. That was a pretty cool build from Reynor. Even with the fact that Dark did scout out what he was going for, it worked anyways. Well, I shouldn't say Dark scouted out entirely what he was going for, but he did scout out the fact that Reynor was going for some sort of aggressive motion by the fact that he found that mineral line mined out. Because there's only one reason to mine out that mineral line is so you can have a unscouted alternative attack path. And that's exactly what Reynor was looking for. It's not what he got, but he might as well have. Here we go. Game 3 will be on Death Aura. And in the upper left, in the blue, taking game 2, fighting back into this series, for Team Clash, it's Reynor. And in the bottom right, in the red, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, give it up for Dark. Man, I should really, I need to get an MC voice, you know. In the blue corner, weighing in at 235 pounds, hailing from Nova Scotia, he is the Mad Rabbit. I gotta get that deep, the deep announcer voice when he's Dark. But that just sounds weird, so whatever, you know. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Tell me my voice is terrible. But anyway, we're talking about talking about spawning pool position. Once again, notice that the pool here for Dark, this will allow him to wall off the natural should in the advent of a 12 pool drone pool, which is pretty cool because Dark is one of those. Now, he didn't really drive the innovation quite as much as players like Panda Bear Me and Lambo did. But his practice with Scarlet was one of the things that kind of started that entire craze. As Scarlet streamed, at least the first time I saw it, Scarlet was streaming and she was practicing against Dark, learning the initial version of the hold on this map, because it was long thought, it was thought for a while that on this map in particular, the 12 pool drone pool was just impossible to hold because the spines that would go right here would just go, we could hit the low ground, it was just, yeah, pretty terrible to deal with. But then people figured out the wall. And suddenly it became a lot more holdable. Alright, so now Bailing's Nest on the way here for Dark, but not... Oh, never mind. There we go. Reynor's... no build asynchronicity here. Not in my channel. As we have Bailing Nest coming in from both sides. Third base as well. Both players droning up. Nothing new. But I'm excited to see what our players are going to go for in this game. We've seen REYNOR go for two really aggressive builds. One worked, one didn't. One could argue, I mean, they kind of worked both times. REYNOR was able to get the third base in the game number 1, but realistically, he did. Well, actually, you don't know. No, I don't. REYNOR didn't lose that game didn't lose game number 1 because of what he did early on. He lost the game because Dark just outplayed him and sniped the hive. So REYNOR going for aggressive builds in the first 2 games kind of worked out for him, even though he did win game number 1. And now in this third game, it looks like he's going to ignore that, and instead he's going for a muta play. Here's we should see guesses on the natural get taken any second now. There we go. Yep, muta play for REYNOR here. Of course, this is not straight to mutas. This is not the earliest possible mutas that you might see. They're going to be pretty dang fast, but of course he will get +1 attack before moving on into muta play. And that just will allow him to get a little bit more done on the ground, give him a little bit more flexibility to maybe hold a little bit later roach push if his opponent, if Dark decides that, oh crap, I didn't see the mutas, I need to go and be defensive. I need to go be aggressive to allow myself to build time. So +1 Zerglings do a pretty decent job against roaches when they're not in insanely high numbers. Allows him to do that, allows him to deny a 4th base, snipe queens, just do a bunch of different stuff. Gives him a lot of flexibility on the map because that is kind of the point. Oh, REYNOR just lets scout in. Nice. And yeah, there we go. The Spire will get scouted at this point, and the question is whether Dark pulls the trigger on an attack. I don't believe so. He's waiting for upgrades. He has 9 drones on the way, so it's not like he has a bunch of larvae sitting here that he can turn into roaches. So we're just sitting here. And Dark is just going... Yeah, oh, Dark is going for a Spire of his own. That is rather interesting. Now, he will have spent a little bit more gas than REYNOR has this game, so he will have less mutas initially. Oh, wait a minute. So here's my... Dark was one of the first players to play a Roach Corruptor style against mutas. And it was fairly successful. As a REYNOR... Interesting. I'm surprised he's getting spines. Yeah, there we go. Spines will get canceled. That was kind of a misread from REYNOR, but the confirmation tells him exactly what's happening here. Of course, there are 25 drones at this third base. Yeah, absolutely. No damage will get done. Now, again, REYNOR, he has decided to get a +1 attack instead of +1 carapace. He does not know about the Spire, but I think that's fine anyways. I do believe... I would not be surprised to see Dark go for a Roach Corruptor style in this game. Of course, Dark, again, was one of the first players to really go for that Roach Corruptor style. As a scout, we'll see the Spire coming. We'll actually see the exact timing of the Spire. There we go. 7 Corruptors on the way. So we're just going to see enough Corruptors that the mutas are forced to fight them, defending a bunch of roaches on the ground. And then, of course, when that happens, well, the mutas... Sure, if they pick off Corruptors, mutas regen, and eventually they will win the fight against Corruptors in kind of a in a guerrilla style fight over the course of a game. But Dark, what he's gonna look to do here, I think, is just kind of punch his way across the map, bring this army that Dark cannot help but try to deal with, and yeah, eventually the mutas might get the Corruptors, especially because they'll have better upgrades. But by then, REYNOR is theoretically dead. That's the goal, at least. That's what Dark is going for. I don't know how this game is going to work out. Again, this is not a game you see all that often. It's a cool idea, and it does work on occasion. It's Dark's trying to take a 4th base, and well, Zerglings are getting ready to tango. Alright, so now the mutas will find 70 Corruptors and target 1 down immediately. Target a 2nd down as well. And, well, we haven't lost any mutas yet, so what is that? 1 muta died? 3 mutas died for 3 corruptors? Yes, theoretically it's not all that great, but actually that's just about fine. There's REYNOR sitting here in a fairly significant economic lead. His 4th base is done. It is mining. He's getting gas off of it. Dark only just now getting his 4th base. REYNOR taking his 5th base as well, getting double rich Vespene. So if REYNOR's able to take that, I mean, I feel like REYNOR just kind of wins this game with how the tech he's going for. As this nice run by will get 5-7 workers. Hold position means he's not going to wipe out the entire middle line, but it also does mean that he doesn't have to worry about it. Doesn't have to worry about unit AI going off and dealing with and attacking the army units instead of just killing 9 workers. So nice there. Nice little low intensity investment there from REYNOR will allow him to continue to really cement his economic lead as he is up 22 workers. He's up 2 bases now effectively. I mean, this base is not yet up. And that's just going to allow him to just have an insane amount of mutas. Now we do have, yeah, that's one of the downsides of going corruptors over mutas is you have them in the sky, but they cannot do anything on the ground. So Zerglings will surround all of these queens and just start taking them out. +2 is not on the way. It looks like REYNOR is content to stick on +1 ground for the moment. And I think Dark's just waiting for a max out. Yeah, there's a lot of corruptors looking to take the fight. And it's oh, now mutas will jump on top of things, but again, these are even upgrades. In fact, arguably better, definitely better upgrades for Dark here. But these mutas actually, yeah, no, this is a great fight. So it's like 3 muta, 1.5. What's the math? It's like 2.5 mutas per corruptors to try to make it even. So the corruptors here are actually taking a really good fight. As actually, let's take a look at this. 20 mutas have died, 14 corruptors, and the whole point of the point of the corruptors here is not to kill all the mutas. Although, I mean, if they do, that's really nice. The point is to make it so the mutas cannot fight anything else. So now we have roaches moving on into every middle line. These are, of course, +2 roaches. They kill a lot of stuff. And Corruptor's just doing a pretty good job of taking this fight. Now, mutas will, of course, always kite better, but 14 workers have died. Now, the Zergling run by into this 3rd base, not really get a whole lot done. The roaches, they are there to defend. And now roaches are in every base of our blue Zerg player. Now, the mutas are taking a really good fight against the corruptors here, but now with the more corruptors coming on in, I'm not really sure that's the case anymore. As now, yeah, roaches, they are just targeting anything and everything down in every single base. Now, I would like to see Dark actually target fire some stuff down. He's not really doing that yet. So, of note, only 18 works have gone down. Now, he has been dealing with the Zergling run by into his main base, so I do understand that, but now we're starting to see more and more workers go down here. And the corruptors are just doing a really good job of bodyguarding the economy of REYNOR here. As REYNOR's doing a decent job of defending this. He's at 37 mutas to 13 corruptors. So actually, this is definitely the amount, especially when these are +2 mutas against +1 corruptors. This is definitely the timing where REYNOR can just kind of jump on top of these corruptors, kill them all off, and then make the defense he's looking for. I mean, the kiting's nice. The kiting is certainly nice from Dark, but he's going to lose his entire air army. And yeah, he has more corruptors on the way, but he just never had what he needed to really make the defense. And there we have it. GG REYNOR is going to take game number 2. Really nice idea there from Dark, but it didn't quite work out. And now REYNOR with a 2-1 lead. It's going to take us on to our first match point of the series. It's going to be game 4. Will be on Pillars of Gold. All right, here we go. Spawning in the upper right, in the blue on match point for Clash Gaming, it's REYNOR. And in the bottom left, in the red, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, his tournament life on the line. Give it up for Dark. You ever think about how it's kind of weird? I don't know if it's weird or interesting, but in the West, we talk about esports players by their gamer tags, by Dark and REYNOR and Serral and Flash and whatever. But in Korea, they're just call them by their names. You know, Lee Young Ho, Jonas Satala, whatever. And I don't know. I think that's an interesting little bit of esports culture. Whereas, you know, in Korea, they just treat it like another sport. I mean, obviously there are differences, but at least from the commentating perspective, pretty similar. Alright, so nothing crazy. We've kind of hit that. In ZVZ, I like to talk about a couple different breakpoints that happen in a series. So the first one is, oh, do they take their pool at a normal timing? And do they take their hatchery at a normal timing? Or are we going to see something really wild and aggressive? And, well, that's not what we're seeing in this game. As, of course, Dark, he's not doing that. He's just going and, well, both players, they're just going for a 16, 18, 17 hatch gas pool. Probably going to see a 28-ish supply third base, etc., etc., etc. Now, once again, Dark, just because I think this is cool, Dark going for the interesting spawning pool positioning. This one's a little bit different in that, actually, I forget how, honestly, I forget the hold on this map. There's a positioning you can do. Actually, yeah, this is not the proper positioning for this, but there's a way you can place your buildings, so you kind of force a long run around for the drones and the zerglings and whatever. But that, again, neither here nor there. It doesn't really matter for this map, and I guess this is more just of a scouting pool more than anything else. For Dark, just make sure he doesn't get a early spawn in his base or something. So REYNOR, he's being a little bit slow on this third base, which, yep, looks like exactly. Zergling attack on the way. We have a lair just about halfway done, which apparently I didn't see until now because I'm blind. And anyway, looks like we once again will have mutas on the way here for REYNOR. Yeah, we're missing some gas actually. Okay, there we go. There's the extra gas we're looking for going down. Well, it's only a third gas. I'm surprised we don't see a fourth. But this isn't going to be a roach timing because this is +1 melee. So this is a, there we go. So there's the fourth gas. This will be 2 base muta from the young Italian player. Although I suppose we can't call him the young Italian player anymore. I think he's like 18. Anyway, this is an interesting way to get it mutas. This is, of course, this will give you mutas a lot faster than the other build does. Notice the lair is done at 4 minutes. Notice he has what he needs to build a spire right now because he didn't go gasless, but he skipped speed until now. He actually started speed after +1 melee was done, and just with the wall here, you can do that pretty safely. But Dark, of course, you know, the downside of this, you don't get your third base as fast. You're really vulnerable to early timings, but if you kind of think you have an idea of how your opponent's playing, this is a good build to do when you understand what your opponent's doing. When you understand that Dark really has not shown any proclivity for 2 base attacks or 2.5 base attacks, something like that. And we do have an Overseer coming on into the main base, and Dark actually has no idea what's happening here. Now, well, I'm sorry, he partially knows what's going on here. He does know that speed is still being researched at 5 minutes into the game, and that is something that is incredibly uncommon. And there we go. So now he will see Zerglings moving across the map. We'll see if +1 is... Well, he will see that this is wiggling. He doesn't know it's +1 melee, but I guess he can assume, as it's a lot of Zerglings moving their way across the map here. And Dark, his response is a Nidus Worm, which I do happen to like. Now, he will lose his third... No, he may not... No, I don't think he should lose his third... Yeah, okay. Never mind, he will lose his third base for this. As REYNOR does sell out for. Dark did have the opportunity to save it, but he was a little bit slow with his roaches. As I guess he was being a little reticent, making sure the Zerglings didn't just kind of pop off the roach, pop off the third base and swing on into the natural. And he can afford to lose his third. He does not want the Nidus to get scattered. Now, of course, we do have this Overlord here getting ready for a Nidus position. Now, of course, with the Zerglings here, none of these positions are really good for a Nidus for the moment. We're just gonna have a bunch of speed roaches move across the map, and the Nidus, I believe, will just be used for reinforcements. Now, some mutas are on the way. We already have, what do we have? 8 meters on the way, going up to 11. And Nidus has gone down. The mutas will find this immediately and should be able to pick this off. But that just means the roaches, they say, oh, you know, if the mutas are not fighting us, that means we can just dive on into the main base. Now, this wall is here, but it's going to take, I believe, something like 2 hits from the roach. From Roach to be able to do that. Now, the +1 Zerglings will be able to get behind this and do a really good job, as now Nidus is going down into the main base, and Roaches, they're just kind of pulling on in, doing what they can to remove as much economy as possible. The goal here is, of course, for Dark is to make this a game-ending push, and lacking that, at the very least, just kind of to do enough economic damage to make it worthwhile. Now, this Nidus will not get off once again. The drones have been pulled, but the Roaches in the main base, they're not doing a whole lot. 10 workers have died. And now with the speed roaches coming on in here, well, there's just not enough Zerglings, not enough mutas to really make an effective hold. So, yes, REYNOR is kind of holding. He hasn't lost his third base yet, and now Nidus has gone up, but he's on 21 workers. He has not been mining for the last 30, 45 seconds. And yes, he eventually will be able to go back into mining now. But I gotta say, I think Dark has found the type of damage that he's looking for. So we do have a Nidus coming on in. I mean, what gave it? Yep, the Overlord gave vision from that. All right, so this is probably the clincher here, as pretty much the entire army of Dark is now running on into the main base, along with a bunch of queens and a drone to build a couple drones to build spores. So this is the game-ending push. Yeah, we're having everything moving to the natural. That is. Yep, that is exactly a GG Dark. You're going to take game number 4, and we're moving on to an ace match, boys, ladies and girls. Excuse me. Guys, gals, non-binary pals. There we go. I can talk. As game number 5 will be on Lightshade to determine who moves on to play, Showtime. In the round 4. Of course, this is the losers bracket, round 3. Dark beat Rogue to get here. REYNOR beat Ragnarok to get here. And here they are. It's game 5 of a best of 5. One of those sweetest sounds you can hear with any sort of esports-like competition. And here we are. It's all loaded in. And spawning in the bottom right, in the blue, representing Clash for perhaps the last time. Give it up for REYNOR. And in the upper left, in the red, hailing from Korea for Dragon Phoenix Gaming, he's Dark. So REYNOR going for a little bit of a cheeky play here. Now this was a 16 pool, I believe. So this was a 16-16 or 17-17. So it's not super aggressive. I mean, it does give you maybe a little bit. It gives you a 3-minute speed, I believe, instead of a 3:30 speed. It does. It is a bit more. It allows you to be a bit more aggressive, but it's not a 13-12 or something. It's not 14-13-12. It's not anything like that. It just means it's just an interesting pool first build. And I wonder whether this is REYNOR because REYNOR wants to do something in the game, or because he doesn't want Dark to do something. Whether he believes that Dark is gonna hit him with some crazy early aggression in this game, so he's just gonna be prepared for it by building a slightly later spawning pool than his opponent would. And that's kind of the funny thing, right? When you're looking at how to hold things, if you're both going for early tech or you're both going for an aggressive option, it makes sense that the player that has the slightly later aggressive tech is often in a better position. Like when two all-ins face off against each other, the all-in that's supposed to hit 30 seconds later will be better, because that is a more unit dense all-in, or that is a higher tech all-in, which means that, well, the opponent's all-in is hitting pretty much at the timing that your all-in's supposed to hit, or just about, and you tend to have more. But that's, again, not what's happening in this game. As REYNOR is going for a rather early Bailey. Is he just convinced that Dark is doing something crazy, or is this is REYNOR just wants to get? I think this is more of a REYNOR wants to get aggressive in this game. Now his natural will finish now, and Dark is aware that REYNOR did go for a later natural. So I wonder if that's. Yeah, well, I'd love to know what's going on in Dark's head right now. Now, Dark does have a Baneling Nest on the way, and a couple more Zerglings. So he may know what he's looking to hold. But now REYNOR, of course, he has a bunch of Zerglings on the way. Now, REYNOR's doing a really good job of selling this as what it's not. As he does have a couple drones mining the natural, not as much as Dark. So if Dark does get a really good look in here, he'll say, "Oh wait, hey, that's something's a little bit weird." But now he does see, of course, the Zerglings running across the map. Speed is done again at that 3-minute timing, and now we have a couple of banelings waddling into the natural, and Dark has taken no chances here whatsoever. This is a full wall, and well, the Zerglings will get by, but now there is only one baneling, and really nice target that fire from Dark. We'll make sure that those banelings do go down. But the Zerglings are taking a really great trade against these queens and drones that have been pulled. You know what? No, they are not at all. Nothing. One worker goes down. Okay, now we're gonna have a little bit more damage. They kind of that you hold 99% of it, and then your opponent gets a couple more workers. It really seems to happen more often than it should. But anyway, what a hold there from Dark. Absolutely. I'm just looking at all the queens going low, and the drones going low, and everything dying, and one worker dies from that. One worker dies from that. Really, really great move there from Dark. Incredible micro with the queens, with the drones. Make sure that really nothing goes down. And REYNOR, yeah, he did commit for that. I mean, yeah, he's even on economy and even an army and ahead on army supply and ahead on base and all these things, but he's a little bit behind in tech. Dark is going for +1 carapace that will open up some pretty powerful timing options for him. And I'm curious which one he's going to go for. Whether it's just going to be kind of roachling, whether this is just kind of a Zergling pressure as he looks to do something else. But now, really a nice move with these Zerglings, trying to knock off some of these banelings before they spawn. And actually, yeah, no, Zerglings will find their way on into the main base. We'll find the lack of a lair at 4 minutes and 45 seconds. So this is not a, oh man, Dark style enemy moment, but this is a, oh, hey, Dark doesn't have a spire, or Dark is not going for a spire. It doesn't have a lair. And actually, this is going to do a really good job of forcing the third to cancel. Now, 2 banelings are here, so REYNOR's going to look to micro around this, and actually really great micro here. We'll be able to knock this third base down. Yeah, he does. He forced the cancel at the very last second. That was a 90% done third base. This is a terrible situation for Dark in this game number 5, but you got to remember, Dark has a bunch of Zerglings on the way. His +1 carapace is just about done. He has an incredibly powerful counterpunch timing that he's going to look for in this game. So he's up an army supply, and his army will be better for the foreseeable future. Now, REYNOR, he does have a Roach Warren on the way. He does have an opportunity to maybe hold this, although again, +1 carapace is an incredibly powerful tool. It means it takes for just 3 hits instead of 2 to kill a Zergling, and that is just a lot of DPS time. All right, I guess DPS is a function of time as well. Anyway, REYNOR is now tangling with the Zerglings running across the map. He is aware of the fact that there is +1 carapace in this. This drone will just sacrifice himself for the greater good. But now, of course, REYNOR is looking to, okay, that's pretty nice. The baneling flank from behind is a pretty cool idea. And REYNOR actually absolutely has to be careful of this. That's going to be a really good baneling connection for Dark. Now, these banelings, both of them have to connect well. One baneling connection is not good enough at all. So there we go. That's going to be a decent connection. We're not seeing too many workers go down yet. Now we're starting to see more and more roaches on the way. So eventually REYNOR's probably able to hold this. There we go. Looks like Dark is going to back up and reset for the time being. All right, so now Zerglings in the main base. So Dark actually has a couple Zerglings in the main base here. He may opt to turn them into, yeah, there we go. He will opt to turn these into banelings, but yeah, REYNOR on top of things. Yeah, okay, there we go. This will go down. And this run by on into the third base. I don't think she'd get a ton done there. A bunch of roaches here. There we go. One baneling will get knocked down immediately. And REYNOR, surprisingly enough, really not taking a whole lot of damage in this attack. And actually, oh, there we go. Banelings, yeah, they're not going to get anything done either. These are, of course, they're +1 carapace. They're not +1 melee banelings. And +1 melee banelings doesn't kill a drone anyways. So, oh, nah, 2 more Zerglings will run in. Try to see what they can get, but a nice quick pull there from REYNOR. And where do we stand at the end of the day? REYNOR, 50 workers to 39, 49 workers to 39. Up an army supply a little. He has a lair on the way. He has no upgrades on the way. His evolution chamber is only just now on the way. So Dark's Roach army is actually going to be a really nice position. It will have 1-1 versus 0-0 for quite a bit in this game. and that is absolutely a timing that he can abuse. Well, Dark is always going to be one upgrade ahead in this game. Perhaps he's going to be 2 upgrades ahead for quite a bit as well. That's going to be some really nice timings that he's going to be able to hit here. And yeah, +1 Carapace is not as impactful in roach fights as +1 attack, but when you have it, yeah, your army's better. Generally, you don't want to if you're going pure roach piece. You'd rather have that that 150 mineral, or that 150 gas as 6 roaches. But if you have it, might as well use it. And it is common, of course, when you're getting into +2 attack to see that +1 +1 Carapace go in. And now Dark, he's marshaling his forces for another big attack. Queen's now waddling their way across the map, and this is getting rather spooky. These will be 1-1 roaches against 0-0 roaches. Dark with the army supply lead as well, and Queens to make sure that he's able to reinforce his army that much better. Now, Raynor does have some Ravagers on his side of the map that will allow him to maybe zone things out, but now everything's just running on top of Raynor's army here. Baneling's trying to make the connections. Actually, Biles will land to kill off all the Banelings here, but the spines will not complete. And Dark is making a really good showing for himself in this game as Rainer's army will be forced to retreat. The spine does go down without a cancel. That is just money down the drain, and +1 is not anywhere near done. So Dark's army is incredible, and Raynor will be forced to give up the 3rd base. Zergling's getting on top of everything. The 3rd base will go down. The Queens here means that a lot of Overlords will die as well. So Raynor's at a severe chance to get incredibly supply blocked, although it looks like the Queens are not targeting exactly as they would like. And this spine will try to root, will fall down. 3rd base of Raynor now going down. And wow, Dark just doing a really good job of hitting his timing. Now, it does look like at this point that Defender's advantage is coming to the fore here for Dark, or for Raynor, but Dark does not really have to take an insane trade. He just has to take a good one, because while he's down in economy, he has an extra base. So realistically, his income's just about even with his opponents, even if he is down 14, 15 workers. As now we have the Queens, they're just running home. Our job is done. It's fine. Now, one thing that Raynor does have going from here, on top of the rather nice worker lead that he can't properly utilize, is the fact that Dark doesn't have a lair yet. So this 1-1 timing was meant to kill Raynor. And it might have, functionally it might have. But, well, Raynor's, Raynor's going to be able to be equal, asymmetrically equal on upgrades. Of course, it'll be 2-0 versus 1-1. And now Raynor, well, looks like his idea about how to get back into this game is to go for mutas. And I don't hate it. Mutas are if you're not in a position where you're just about to die and you need a unit, right? You need to make sure you have something to make sure you don't die. Mutas are a pretty good comeback unit. In fact, oh, nice placement there from the Bile, but Dark's paying attention, so Overseer won't go down. Anyway, forcing your opponent into an asymmetric game is a really good way of clawing your way back in a mirror matchup of a game that you realistically you're pretty far behind in. Because if you're just trying to build the same stuff as your opponent, and you're down a base and you're down workers or you're down tech or something, your army will never be as good. It just won't. But if you can go and you can say, I'm going mutas and my opponent's going Roach Hydra, maybe then you can find the opening you're looking for, because you have forced asymmetry. You forced your opponent to deal with the fact that your armies are not the same, and therefore maybe you can find an opening. Alright, so Raynor now getting ready to take his 4th base as soon as he removes the scout there. Again, small things, but if he can prevent Dark from knowing that he has a 4th base for as long as possible, that's just gonna be good for him. It means it's not as vulnerable to counterattacks. And on these mutas, they're shirking around, but actually, wait, how many mutas do we have on the map? Only 6, and it doesn't look like he wants to make any more. So, oh, I like this from Raynor actually. So if we look what Reynor did here, it says, oh, look, I have mutas. I'm going to go knock out all your overlords, and I'm going to go try to kill a base, and you should be afraid. You should be afraid of my muta transition. But it's only 6 mutas. So if Dark does overcommit to dealing with mutas, well, he's just gonna lose to this +2 Roach Force that is now barreling down on him. That being said, though, Reynor is up on army supply, but you gotta remember 12 of that is with his mutas. So realistically, not that far. Dark's realistically just about even in army supply. And now this run by from Dark is doing a real good job. We'll knock out the 4th base, and this is not forcing Reynor into an all-in position, but forcing him into a not a great position. Now, they will trade base for base, though, so that's making things a little bit easier as now the Zergling run by, doing whatever it can. 4 workers should go down. 4 workers will go down. That should be the end of it here. But again, Reynor's army has been forced back. Reynor is not allowed to make use of that small timing he may have forced for himself by going mutas and trying to convince Dark that, oh yeah, this is a scary muta transition when it wasn't. But now that timing is done. Of course, Reynor going to be in a pretty good position in a second, as he will have his +1 carapace done in 12 seconds, and that will allow him to finally have an army that can theoretically fight equally with his opponents. Now the mutas will find their way into the main base, and to the natural into the main base. And now we have really Reynor. He's trying to take a really crisp timing here. For the first time, his army is relatively equal, but there are a bunch of Hydras here, and there are Lurkers behind this. So suddenly, it's going to take a whole lot more for Reynor to be able to punch through here. Lurkers are just so good against Roaches, against Ravagers, that it's not even worth fighting into. Not unless you have a ton of Ravagers that can just file everything down immediately, and that is not the case for our blue Zerg players. A couple more drones will go down. Alright, so now we have Reynor looking around. Reynor, of all people, who the inventor of so many lurker styles, should know that you do not fight into roaches, into lurkers with this many roaches and expect it to work. Now, Reynor is trying to get a 2-pronged attack coming in here, but there are 3 lurkers on the right-hand side. There are like 7 lurkers on the left-hand side. Now, there are no Hydras here. Not for the moment. So these mutas are actually maybe going to be able to knock a lurker out, but that is not the game. Now, on the flip side, though, Dark is stuck on 3 bases. Dark has really not been able to take a... He had a 4th base for a bit, but that has been taken down. That has been knocked out. And that is allowing Reynor really a good opportunity to get back into this game. We have a Burrow on the way, as well as +2 Carapace, which... rather interesting. It's not something you see all that often. And a Hive on the way. And of course, Vipers are the real goal of trying to deal with Lurkers here, as the eventual end game of any ZVZ is Hydra Lurker Viper versus Hydra Lurker Viper. That's just kind of how it goes, as there's no other... Mutas don't work against Hydra Lurker Viper. Ultras really don't work against Lurkers in general, or honestly, they don't work well against Mass Hydras, to be totally honest, which is kind of... feels like a weird thing, but that's how that works. Nice Biles will knock off 2 Lurkers. That's a expensive trade here for our red Zerg player, but hey, he's starting to build up a bank. He's starting to be able to get a little bit more aggressive, but of course he has no Hive. He only has a lair, no Infestation Pit even, so he will be... oh, actually, no, he does have an Infestation Pit, excuse me, but no Hive. So he'll be stuck on that for the moment, which means no quick burrowing Lurkers. But Dark's just choosing to get on top of things and trying to make the good trades, because of course he has a couple Lurkers on into the 3rd base. Now there is detection, but 7 workers have died, and that is something. Oh, nice move there. So Reynor really making use of the fact that the Burrow is finishing up on these roaches. It means that this run by, well, Dark was relying on his rally to kill that off, and well, once the Burrow happened, the rally was no longer aggroed on it, and that was that. But now Dark is going to be able to take out this 4th base once again. Reynor not really get what he wants out of this, and yes, Reynor will be able to shove off the attack into the 3rd, but 15 workers have died. Lurkers taking pretty good accounting for themselves. Not perfect, not yet. Because, of course, the Hive is not done. We don't have those extreme Lurker upgrades that really make them scary. We don't see +2 Lurkers, we don't see quick Burrow Lurkers, or we don't see +3 Lurkers, we don't see quick Burrow Lurkers, we don't see Seismic Spines. None of that. As a Bile will take down another Lurker, and I am really impressed. Now, Reynor is down in supply, and that should not be understated. He's down in supply, he's down in economy, but I am really impressed with Reynor's ability to take fights against a significant number of lurkers with just Roach Raptor. That's something rather rare. It is difficult to do, and Reynor is doing a commendable job of it. Even as he did lose that base, even as he did lose his 4th base, and is down in this game. He's making such a good fight of it, though. He's doing such a really good job of trying to fight his way back into a game that, realistically, he's been behind in for quite a while. Even as he does make some pretty powerful counter punches. But now we have lurkers on the way, and now we have vipers on the way, and that will really allow Reynor to maybe fight these lurkers a whole lot easier. Blinding clouds, those are pretty nice. Abducts, depending on the lurker count, of course. But now Reynor getting ready to get aggressive once again. I think these lurkers are most likely primarily for blinding clouds, just strictly because that also works on the rest of Dark's army here. But hey, now the abduct 1 lurker will just go down immediately. And you do have, of course, the biles do have to get dodged. But now Reynor's going to try to press on in here. But Dark says, hey, look, your army supply is just not where it needs to be. Now, these blinding clouds are going to be really nice and nice lists from Dark to make sure that he does not really suffer from them too much. And it looks like, despite the blinding cloud, Dark just has a little bit too much. He's going to do what he can to get on top of this entire army. But the biles are going to land fairly decently, and they will prevent too much of the chase here from our red Zerg player. But even then, Dark taking a tremendously cost-effective trade as those biles will land. And that is, oh man, one of the frustrations of ZVZ. It is almost impossible to chase your opponent down. But now we have lurker speed on the way. Dark here at 150 supply. Reynor at 100. He is down in economy. He's down in army supply. He's down in tech. He's up on upgrades though, so he's got that going for him. And Reynor deciding to build 3 more mutas with his... I guess that makes sense because he's pretty mineral starved, but not gas starved at the moment. He doesn't really have a Hydra Warren, so... he doesn't have a Hydra Den, so I guess you might as well build mutas because they're more mineral gas symmetric. I guess that's the goal here. Maybe you can... if you can find lurkers out of position, you kind of dive on top of them before your army goes in. I mean, these mutas don't have upgrades... okay, I guess, no, I see what Reynor's doing here. Relying on the hope that Dark just doesn't have a lot of Hydras in the army. Yeah, that's fair, because, I mean, why have Hydras when you can have lurkers? The anti-air of Dark's army is, there's a chance that it's lacking, but more and more Hydra are coming in. Right now it's only 7, though. 7 to soon to be 12 mutas. And, you know, I kind of like this idea from Reynor. Now, it is a one-and-done idea. It is a very all-in strategy to go with. But it does have potential. But of course now seismic spines are just about done. Burrow speed is done, so it is going to be much more difficult, in the coming minutes for Dark to really take a good fight. And now, while Dark has full energy vipers, he knows that Reynor has committed much more to mutas, so he's going to build a lot more hydras. And this muta switch, actually, yeah, Dark will even just cancel his 5th base. So yeah, not really worth it right now. This muta switch, maybe it's going to get something done. Maybe it's going to do some damage to the economy, but I don't really think this is going to get what Reynor... This is not going to get Reynor back into the game. As he's kind of been looking for. But oh, now the mutas will find a Viper, and knocking down the Viper is going to be a really good trade for them. As 2 parasitic bombs do go out, and Reynor is really late in splitting, but still gets enough. Now the Spore should kill 2 mutas as they run by, maybe even a 3rd. No, we'll not get only 2. But a couple more Vipers on the way. And if we look at the economy here, actually, as Reynor does reestablish the space, he's okay. He's in a economic lead just for the moment, as this game continues to seesaw back and forth and back. Alright, so now we have Reynor once again trying to be aggressive. This lurker, of course, now with seismic spines, it's a little bit more powerful, but we have Vipers too, so they're not going to really last for the moment, as a bunch of else will go down, as will a blinding cloud. So Reynor will be allowed to retreat. He will be allowed to find his way back, and now the mutas, I mean, the mutas, I question the decision. They're making a pretty good accounting for themselves, but now we have Dark once again This, I don't think REYNOR's going to be able to push into this position. I mean, he's going to try, but the 4 bases that Dark have are incredibly well defended. And now the Lurkers, they're able to circulate their way around the map so much more. I'm surprised we don't see +3 Lurkers on the way for our red Zerg player. But +3 Lurkers just really, really good. But +2 Lurkers are they're still decent. And now it looks like REYNOR's going to try to maybe catch his opponent in transition. But the Lurkers, they burrow immediately, and they will be able to really just scare REYNOR away. Now, Dark, he's going to set up a siege of his own. Now, the mutas, of course, will take this opportunity to fly on into the natural, but these are +0 mutas. There's just not a lot of them. And nice catch there, actually. 2 Lurkers will go down. But these mutas, they're just going to sit on top of a spore, not really get a whole lot done here. And the Queen will keep firing as well. So, REYNOR with the slow push forward. As we see, oh, great abducts on top of the Vipers, but the preemptive parasitic, or the preemptive blinding clouds will mean that even though the Vipers do get abducted, they will not go down. These are really good blinding clouds, or one blinding cloud from Dark as well, allowing himself to take a really good fight. Now the abducts are going to work, but there are more Lurkers than there are abducts, so now the Lurkers will continue to press forward once again. REYNOR with the army supply lead, but the problem is the army value is just not there, not nearly as much. It's +600 gas, +1100 minerals, and Dark continues to press on forward here with his Lurker army, with his Vipers, with everything else. He's got a full surround here with Lurkers and everything else. Dark, he is crushing forward here in this game number 5, and it looks like REYNOR on the ropes here. His last-ditch effort, bringing even in the mutas to fight, and that's how you know he's on the ropes, and Dark will take it in game 5.